Hello, and I trust you are having a beautiful, beautiful day, wherever you are, and whatever time it is for you, be it evening, morning, midday, middle of the night. It's amazing when you sort of look at this reality, this external realm, what it can actually draw out of it, and it can come from some very unlikely places, superficially. Take, for example, rap music and Emenem. Now, on the surface, it's like, ugh. But is that really any different from pointing fingers at different YouTube channels and you don't like their accent, you don't like their sense of humour? What about the message they're saying? So, you can apply that to something what seems very material, like Emenem, Marshall Mathers. So, what is being marshalled? It's an organising, it's a grouping. What's the matter? What's the matter? What is the magnetic ether? The matter? It's right between the two, isn't it? It's neither matter, or is it immaterial? I'm material. Well, yes. And then, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I wonder what that refers to. Could it be like if you cut an apple in half and you see that sort of hourglass, that dielectric, the Slim Shady? Well, it's something hidden within you. It is you. But let's have a look at this in a micro-macro analogy. You are the creator, whether you know it or not. So imagine you're just one of these strands, these hairs, these hairs. Interesting word, hair, and all its meanings of that. The air apparent, the hair apparent. Apparently it is in the air, it is hydrogen, which I've discussed before. But anyway, imagine one of these, and it thinks it's it. But there's no separation, it is part of something bigger. This is the whole thing. Going back to Emenem, Marshall Mathers. I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would you say I am? Think about the words. Think about the message. Internalize that, maybe. This world, this realm, this exterior, it's a pretty good game to play in. I was listening to a Manly P. Hall lecture on magnetism in the human being. And it is basically toroidal fields, your aura. Now, is it disturbed? Is your ether, your toroidal field, is it broken? Is it allowing something to come through? Because, as he rightly points out, what do television stations do? They broadcast, they are on air. So, although you can't see it, it's everywhere and yet nowhere. It's invisible to the five senses. But it is what it is. It is real. But there are still many that are wandering around, lost in Egypt. But you're trying to get to what is real. Well, that's inside you. It's not this externalized outplay. That's just a contrast. That's going to show you mirrored versions. Think of the United States. Well, what type of states are we talking about here? If anything, the external world seems to be very untied states. Because we're talking about states of mind. It's also like that cleaved apart and cleaved unto. When you are cleaved apart, and then you are cleaved unto. That's the Kundalini rising, which is the glue. You reform yourself. You go through a reformation. It's just a marshalling of your material self, your immaterial self, because there is no separation. You're in these avatars. This is just a reflection. I'm not looking at the sort of camera part. I'm looking at this avatar and I'm talking to it. Because this message is an eternalized one that's being externalized, which comes back. It's a reflection of oneself. Whether you choose to see the superficial outside layers, or can you see deeper? Do you look deep inside of things? But how deep? I wouldn't go too deep, because some of them are potentially they're all rabbit holes, and if you find yourself going down one of them and going deep, just look for the patterns. If all you're finding is you've been lied to, we've not actually been lied to. It's a realization that the world is not what you thought it was, not the way you were told it was, which is exactly what it is. It's all a great game, really, and it can be a lot of fun. But if you import and allow disturbance of your magnetic field, as Manly P. Hall says, and it's in a quote in the Bible, I certainly heard Neville Goddard talk about it, in terms of there's nothing added and nothing taken away. It's energy. It just transmutes. So if you import something and you feel fear from that, and you're a magnetic being anyway, well, what do you think you're going to draw towards yourself? You just get more of it. It's ever loving, ever giving. There's no distinction. It's just a very mortal thing to put perceptions on things and then judgments of what's good and what's bad. But your internal compass should really be able to work that well out. It's so simple. It's like go about without the intention of doing harm to anyone or anything else. It's so simple. And yet, look at all the trappings out there, all the adversaries, all the adverts, all the things that are trying to draw your attention. And of course, wherever your attention goes, that saying, the energy flows, well, it does. And it is all flow. It is facts, logic, and organic wisdom. Because when you go deep inside yourself, that's the place to go deep as you possibly can go, and maybe a bit more. Only you will know. You'll know what you feel, what you bring up, and it's a sort of like a energy vomit in a way. Release it, let it go. If it's not serving you, if it's giving you bad feelings about things, why hang on to it? It's release it. Earth it out of yourself. Think about energy, how it's earthed. And the feminine principle, the mother aspect, the mother earth as it were, it will always, it's another aspect. It's ever loving. It will gladly take that pain away and replace it with a far more positive energy. So you're just exchanging energy. There's no loss. Nothing is added and nothing is taken away. It's just exchanged. It's redeemed. Hence Christ the Redeemer. Because you're exchanging something. That's why in this reality you have misleading things that have a cross, because you're crossing yourself when you take part in that. You're crossing your own energy. But you can untwist it. You can flip the polarity. And what was something that you perceived maybe as negative, you can now appreciate the beauty, because it is all that Wizard of Oz illusion. There's nothing real about it. It just looks terrifying. And if you believe it and you focus on it, well, of course, what do you expect? The buck stops here is the saying. Well, think, what is a buck? Well, it's something that an ass does. It will buckaroo you off, the buck L. It will throw you off, and it will throw you off course if you feel too much negativity. They become a burden, and then obviously the mule will throw it off when it gets too much. There's even, I think, a child's game, I think it was manufactured. You put little bits on it, and then when it gets too much, it throws everything off. Well, it is all a letting go process. There is a sort of mirrored reflection of that in we are playing the part of the donkey, being the ass when we hold on to all this material clutter. We saddle ourselves with it, is another saying. Beautiful, all these sayings, when you just change your perception and realise that even those are giving you some beautiful messages to be found. It is a wonder, and you do have to wonder about a lot of it. Some of it does appear crazy, but there is beauty in all of it. Talking of which, I've just listened to Lana A Labonte's latest video, and I'm going to put the link in the description, and also for the Manly P Hall, and energy, ether, it's magnetism, materialism, material as it were. There is no separation. It's interesting because you've got this duality. It's letting go, but there's also the realization that there is no separation. There is an awareness of an individualized part of something. There is, as Neville Goddard says, only one that is playing all the parts. We are the heirs, we are the sons. All that, as Neville Goddard says, all Christ is God in the form of man, which in that story is shown. God becomes man, so man may become God, but what's stopping you realizing that? What's stopping you finding the I am within you? You say it all the time. If you introduce yourself, you'll say I am, and then whatever identity is attached to it, because you have to have identities to distinguish. You imagine if there was only one form in this material realm, well, everything would look exactly the same. And you couldn't distinguish anything. That's the whole purpose of having the contrast, so you can distinguish, so you can real eyes with a real eye instead of being distracted by the real lies that would appear to be real, like Israel is real, but none of it is real, and yet at the same time it can appear so. It's a beautiful mirror pond, really, full of reflections and things to reflect upon. What are we up to here? 14 minutes. So hopefully that gives you yet another sort of perspective, another way to look at things. And because there's a silver thread. They are like, quite literally like these hairs. You realise that you are the heir. Seek the kingdom inside, and all will be given to you. Therefore, you must be the heir apparent. Even in this material realm, the heirland, the era or island, was known as being a place that the wealthy sent their children to be educated. The Emerald Isle. Oh, look, like Wizard of Oz and Emerald City references. But it is an external play out. of something that's actually going on inside of yourself. Whether you choose to ignore yourself and you want to hold on to that lower I that wants to hold on and cling, and as Lana says, it's like the tighter you hold on to that fear, instead of letting it go and seeing that it's just an illusion, and what the hell were you frightened of? And how many times has that happened in your life? Frightened of your own shadow by different things. Think back to as a child when your imagination went a little bit wild, and that cupboard in the corner of the room that's with the darkness, and is there some bogeyman in there, or is it under the bed, and was it really there, or was it just a figment of your imagination that you created, or maybe something external you had imported that day and I didn't even realise that your imagination was playing with it and playing with you, because it's all childlike wonder, childlike imagination, seeing the wonder of the world without judgment, and realising that it is actually a very beautiful experience. But oh yes, the external will reflect something very different if you allow it, and it will do all it can to try and feed off your energy, because there is no loss of energy. Nothing is taken, nothing is lost. All that happens is you exchange your energy for a script of fear and negativity and doubt, and it will just keep feeding on that, and you'll keep supplying it. There will be a demand. You will be demanded by that script the more you feed into it and focus on it, and it will just keep taking and taking and taking. It's its nature. It's that aspect. But in the unseen, in the very air itself, in everything and yet in nothing that cannot be quantified, is something that is all loving and all giving. So if you say to yourself, I do not want to feel, and then whatever it is, all that will hear is, I want. It doesn't know the negatives. It's from the positive side. So it will hear, I want. And it'll like, okay, you want to feel that? Here's more of it. And I'll just keep giving and giving and giving. See how the beauty of it works? You got one that will do all taking and one that will do all giving. So between the Maya and the I am, therefore must be the aim, the intent. And think about aim. You've got the all and the magnetism, the aether and the magnetism, or the A and E swap, so the electrical circuits of the mind, the magnetism of the heart. But sitting between the A and the M is the I, the one. Funny that, isn't it? Where do you see yourself? You want to know where you are? You want to know who you are? You want to know what you are? Well, you'll find that all within inside yourself. That's where it all is. And of course, it's this great theatre show in which to play. Theatre, the art, the art. The arta, the altar. So co-create, write your own scripts, and then you can go on the world stage and play any character, any part you like, or you don't even have to get typecast. You can play multiple parts, and you will. You already have, whether you know it or not. So hopefully that's given you a little bit more to weigh up inside yourself, and let me know how it feels. Let me know what it brought up for you, and do check out those two links as well. I feel it will just add, excuse me, I feel it will just add to your enrichment in basically finding yourself. It's all it is. It's all it's all about, really. Finding out who you are, what you're truly capable of, both good and bad, and then weighing it up. And when you realise who you are and what power you really have inside yourself, it comes with a huge responsibility of being that scales of just is. Weighing the heart against the feather is another expression for it. You have the ability to create. You can create carnage, you can create chaos, or you can create harmony, you can create beauty, you can create a contentedness. But like everything, and you can see it in this reality, an idea starting in the imagination of a house is given to an architect, that is then designed, which is given to a builder, and then you have a physical manifestation that started with a thought. Same pattern. But whether you recognize those material creations that you have created in your mind and how quick they come, that's going to depend on how much feeling you put into something, and more importantly, what feelings are you putting into it? How are you feeling? Worth considering, and also the intent. Where's it coming from? Is it coming from the heart, or is it coming from a self-serving perspective, or is it coming from a benevolent perspective, wishing to sharing is caring, talking from personal experience, personal perceptions on things, as I am doing here. So I'm going to say love to you all, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. And if this has brought a bit of sunshine, a bit of clarity, brought a bit of light into your life, excellent. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know your experiences. What have you tried for yourself? How have you tried to change things? Have you tried to change the world around you? In what way have you done it? What has worked? What has not worked? What sort of trail has it left behind as well? That's another thing to also consider. Because you want to have all-round vision. You want to be able to see forwards, both sides and behind you. We all want a slice of the pie. Pie is all-round vision, surely. Ta-ta for now.